Hello, everybody. My name is Brandon Miller, and I'm presenting on advocating for technological equity. These first couple slides, I really want to synthesize the content that was provided in this week's work. There's a lot of articles to read through, about 17 different articles that were all tied to technology. Breaking down into a lot of different components, but I gave a quick highlight of different areas that I thought the articles hit on, and then later I'm going to tie that into curriculum analysis in USD 443. But to summarize these articles, I'm going to go through them. I'm not going to spend a ton of time just researching, talking about them, but looking at these first 5 articles here listed on this page, American Institute for Research, and really looking at responsible student voice and professional development. A lot of these articles do talk about professional development in the areas that are highlighted in how are you incorporating technology into curriculum goals. Making data-driven decisions. This should be part of any type of instruction with education. How are we using data to drive instruction? What kind of technology do we have to look at that? Ensuring that it's digital and that it's in real time for for teachers to look at and students to look at as well. Involving all stakeholders and making sure that they're part of the teaching and learning taking place in the district, and how they're involved in the technology aspect of that. Linking it into is everybody what kind of skill does everyone have with technology? What areas do they lack with internet and other related resources? And then looking at, again, the involvement from teachers, parents, students with the support of technology, and what is that achievement gap for each stakeholder. To continue looking at the synthesis of content that was provided throughout this week's work, looking at administrators, really making sure that administrators are overseeing trending patterns and internet usage in the buildings and how students are utilizing the technology in the buildings. At the middle school or secondary areas in USD 443, we have different apps that are used to help students stay on protected sites versus unprotected sites to keep them safe through that piece. Another area that we talk about a lot in USD 443 is making sure that technology doesn't replace or supplant teachers teaching instruction, but how does it support the instructional use in the classroom? That's an area that we talk about daily, is making sure that it's not used, especially in the elementary areas, but primarily used as a babysitter, but how is it used to support and enhance the educational learning? Garcia B. really talked about Houston schools and the challenges faced with COVID. Hybrid learning, providing students with equitable access to technology. I believe this was a nationwide problem, but I'll speak for USD 443. When we went through COVID, we had a lot of areas that were uncharted territories for us, and how do we use technology with the size of USD 443 and serving, roughly 7,400 students. How do we help support that many devices and tools across the entire district, like hotspots, iPads, computers, etc. So that was an area that we really had to focus and really dive into quickly in order to sustain learning through that process through COVID. A big part through COVID, another part we wanted to learn was we've provided professional development with technology in the past, but I do believe when COVID hit, it really showed a gap in our educators, our students, our families, and how to use technology, how to access technology. It really pushed us quickly in how we use our new resources and curriculum that I'll speak about a little bit later, but how well we were equipped at syncing that data to a Google Classroom so it had easy access for teachers and students to get to. And then really looking at a sustainability plan. Through this process, with our tech department at USD 443, we've really created a sustainability plan for computers, iPads, hotspots, chargers, etc., that helps support the technology piece. But what's that cycle each year with looking at that piece? Another part we run into each year is broken devices, and how do we pay for those, and make sure that stuff gets replaced. To continue looking at the synthesis, there's a lot of articles that ton of them talked about case studies, but in incorporating into the classroom sustainability action plans. But again, how does educators use reoccurring themes to keep track of the information throughout the building, to support professional development? Mission, vision. What is the mission and vision of using and incorporating technology into the classroom? I think this is always a big one that I like to reflect on when I think about technology. But how do, when we provide a systematic approach across our district with academic, social, emotional learning, etc., what does that look like for technology? And I think when we create these plans, we need to be just intentional about incorporating technology and how that is used across our district. USD 443, we talk about multipliers. Who are these people that just get it and they've taken the knowing to the doing in the classroom and really taken technology to a new level? How do we see and find those people and use them as multipliers across our district, across our buildings, grade level teams, to enhance that learning and embedded practice right away? I've already talked about sustainability plans, but how do buildings ensure that technology has a plan and it's incorporated and embedded into our building goals that are tied to our district goals? And then really looking at a continuous improvement plan. How is technology part of our continuous journey with instruction and supporting learners? Curriculum analysis, this is a big part that I'm tied to with my position at the district level. 4 years ago, we implemented an ELA adoption, K through 12th grade. We vetted a lot of different resources and looked at different programs and used a pretty extensive rubric to ensure that we're hitting all the criteria, such as evidence-based instruction, what's the newest research in reading instruction, the science of reading, structured literacy, etc. So K through 12th grade adopted Savez, ReadyGen for K through 12 or K through 5th grade, and then My Perspectives, which is 6th through 12th grade. So this resource is ELA district-wide, and it's got a systematic process to it. From that point on, each year we've had a curriculum audit. We've brought in committee members and went through ELA. We went through math 2 years ago at the K5, 6, 8, and 9 through 12th grade. Each grade level, as you can see on here, picked a different resource, but we really wanted to make sure we tied to those major clusters within FastBridge, or within math, to ensure that learning. And then there's secondary social studies, which we went through last year. So this is the first year that they're using the new resources at the secondary level. That would be 6th through 12th grade. And this year, currently, we are going through elementary social studies and science curriculum adoption. We're currently vetting resources that are tied to those same rubrics that we've repeated each year with a curriculum audit. Specials, physical, PE, it would be PE and music, and our CTE classes, etc., have all been through this process, as well as developing lesson plans, pacing guides that are tied to their critical standards, and ensuring that they are teaching that throughout the school year. So for the last 4 years, we've really had a huge curriculum analysis, and we've implemented new resources each year that now will be on to a 6-7 year cycle. Equitable Technology, through this process of vetting these resources, we've ensured and we've tied it in with our tech department, is vetting the technology side of things before we make big purchases of what kind of digital platforms does each one of these programs have. What professional development do we need to offer for teachers and students? And most importantly, is it tied to Google Classroom? That is our LMS system in our district. Is it easily tied to it? And majority of the resources that I listed before are all tied to Google Classroom. And going through the new adoptions of social studies and science this year, we've found that majority of the programs that we vet, the companies have linked to Google Classroom, knowing that COVID had impacted that, and it not just impacted education, but it impacted vendors as well that are tied to curriculum that school districts purchase. Again, evidence-based. This is a big part for our district, especially on ELA. We've tied a lot of things to our universal screeners and FastBridge, but most importantly, how it's tied to our tiered protocol, our Tier 1 instruction that's with our MTSS, and each thing that we teach is evidence-based, and it has a support of science behind it, especially with ELA, with the science of reading. It's technology rich. Like I said, Google Classroom is our LMS system, and anything that we purchase, we make sure that it has a technology piece to it. And if anything ever happened again, like a pandemic nationwide, or even in our district, if something happened, we were able to go remote or hybrid like we did before. We have our resources are easily tied to that. Our teachers are consistently practicing using Google Classroom, and students as well. So if that ever does happen, we're able to log on remotely and continue learning as we would in our classroom. The non-academic piece I haven't talked about too much. I spent a lot of time talking about academic settings, but social emotional learning, we have FastBridge that looks at the SABRS piece and how we incorporate that into our academic settings. And then there's a few schools in our district using Second Steps for adults. This is a building goal that some of these buildings put in place to ensure the social emotional status of our teachers as well. In conclusion, this work really tied me back to 21st century skills using technology and making sure that we're incorporating that into our daily practice. What are the pros and deltas to using technology in the classroom? And knowing that explicit instruction should never be supplanted by the use of technology, but knowing how do we use technology to enhance the learning through our explicit instruction. I think that's something I want to make sure that we're always thinking of, always coaching our teachers on how to use technology to enhance that into our daily practice, embedding that area. Again, Google Classroom is our LMS system. How do we embed that into our daily instruction? Lesson plans, worksheets, homework support, etc. And really, for my reflection, is just making sure that I'm thinking about technology all the time when I'm thinking about instruction, non-academic or academic. As an administrator, supporting teachers that may have that gap in learning the technology, but what professional development, what supports, what coaching do I need to put in place to help ensure that the students, the teachers, the staff is successful with that? And then again, like I've talked before, if COVID ever hit in our nation again, or any other type of pandemic was to take us out of our classroom setting again like it did, we're ready to go. Our technology, our Google Classroom, our academic pieces are all linked to something that we're able to access remotely if students are at home. Our technology has a sustainability plan, making sure that we're recurring the software and the computers each year, but they're able to get hotspots out. What's their plan for a crisis if there ever was to be one again? And these last few pages are my references. I believe I have 3 pages to all fit them on there, and these are the ones that I talked about at the beginning very briefly and summarized. If you have any questions and you want to put any feedback, please drop in the comment box on the Google community. Thank you very much.